You're doing everything right, and nothing is moving. How is that possible? There was a time when doing something created movement, not success, movement. You sent a resume, you finished a project, you wrote the email. Even if nothing happened right away, it was clear that something had started. Today, you do the same things, more precise, more calculated, and nothing moves. Not because you didn't try, not because you didn't put in the effort. You pause before hitting send. You reread something that's already good. You wait a little longer without knowing why. You did what you were told. You learned, you improved, you adapted. And still, your position stays exactly the same. Not worse, just stuck, quietly. And if this continues for another year, you'll be in the same place, just more frustrated. That's when new questions start to appear. Did I miss something? Am I not as sharp as I used to be? Is it working for everyone else except me? You don't say it out loud, but you feel it, because there was a time when doing everything right led somewhere. And now, it's no longer clear where. And there is a reason for that, even if no one ever told you. Most of us didn't notice the moment it started to change. There wasn't a clear point, no announcement, no warning. You just kept doing what had always worked, being serious, being professional, getting a little better every year. And then, it stopped being enough. Not all at once, not in a dramatic way. You just started to feel like you needed more to reach the same place. More proof, more polish, more adjustment. And no one told you why. Because for systems, you're not really there. You're a number, a score, a level of fit. Your resume goes through filtering before anyone actually reads it. And that filtering isn't looking for good, it's looking for compatible. The requirements went up, but the expectations stayed old. You were still expected to be sharp, independent, proactive, as if nothing had changed. But in reality, everything started passing through filters, rankings, quiet comparisons, not bad people, not personal decisions. A system that works differently now. A system that prefers scale over judgment, speed over context, patterns over exceptions. And you're still judging yourself by the old rules. If there's no result, you assume something about you isn't good enough. Another course, more effort, another attempt to fine-tune. You fix, you improve, you try to crack the code, as if there's a formula you somehow missed. But the feeling doesn't go away, because the problem was never that you became less capable. The problem is that the game started being measured differently, and no one ever stopped to explain that to you.
Before we begin, if you value quiet, thoughtful content like this, subscribing helps this channel grow and makes it possible to keep creating videos without noise or hype. Thank you for being here. Now, let's begin.
At this point, most people make one mistake. They try to work harder inside the same frame, be sharper, more aligned, more precise, as if improving just a little more will make things start moving again. But what if it's not about effort? What if nothing about you is broken? What if you're simply still measuring yourself by a system that no longer decides anything? Because when the way things are measured changes, the way it feels changes too. You can be good and still look average. You can be ready and still not be chosen. Not because you're not enough, but because what gets counted has changed. And the way you're counted today matters more than what you actually know how to do. And once you see that, the stuck feeling changes. Not easier, not solved, just explained. And the question is no longer, what's wrong with me? The question becomes something else entirely. How am I being measured now, and what actually determines that? It starts with small things that don't seem important. You open a document. You sit in front of a blank line. Before, you would just start. Now, you pause. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're thinking about how it will look. You write a paragraph, delete it, rewrite it, not because it's bad, but because maybe there's a version that will land better. You send an email, then open it again to check. Not a mistake, not an error, just a feeling that it needs to be more precise. Maybe there's a better word. Maybe the tone isn't professional enough. Maybe something here could offend someone, even if that's not what you mean. You get a task. You know exactly how to do it, but instead of starting, you ask yourself something else. How will this be judged? Not if it's good, not if it's right, but how it will be perceived. And when this happens again and again, something changes in you. You're not less talented, you're not less smart, you're just less direct, because you're no longer acting from confidence, you're acting from alignment. Not because you're weak, not because you're not good enough, but because you learned that to be chosen, you need to fit. And that's not the same thing as being yourself. And that's the quiet difference no one points out. You didn't lose ability, you lost one small freedom. The freedom to start without thinking about how it will be counted.
If this feels familiar so far, not as information, but as something you've been dealing with, we keep a growing collection of prompts, tools, and simple frameworks designed to help you think more clearly, start more easily, and work better in this environment. We add to it over time. Nothing overwhelming, just practical resources you can return to when you need them. If you want access, you will find it in the description. Now, let's continue.
It shows up in small decisions at work, not in drama, not in big moments. You get a task, nothing complicated. You've done this before. You start writing, you stop, you save a draft, not because you don't know what to say, but because you wonder if this is the right version. You add a line, remove it, smooth the wording, and then that moment appears, the silence. Maybe there's a version that will land better. So you open another window, not to learn something new, just to check, to see how it sounds when it's clean, how it looks when it's standard. No unnecessary words, no unusual angle. Not to be sharp, to avoid standing out. Later that day, there's a meeting. You have an idea. Good, precise. You feel it in your body right away. But you wait. You let others speak. You watch closely. What goes through smoothly? What gets accepted quietly? And then someone says something similar, less sharp, more general, and they get the approval. Not because their idea is better, but because it fit without friction. You leave the meeting with a familiar feeling. Not failure, not regret, just a quiet realization. What gets chosen isn't always what's right, it's what moves smoothly through the system. At this point, something small changes. Not in reality, in how you interpret it. Being stuck no longer feels like a personal failure, and not like a problem that needs to be fixed. It feels like a signal that you're operating by a form of measurement that no longer truly sees you. And that changes one important thing. You stop fighting yourself. Not every delay is proof that you're not enough. Not every silence means you made the wrong move. Sometimes it only means that the choice isn't being made by depth or understanding or experience, but by what's easy to filter, easy to compare, easy to rank. And once you see that, something settles. Not the situation, not the outcome, the inner struggle. The system keeps measuring, the filters keep running, decisions keep happening without you, but you no longer translate each one of them into something about your worth. And this doesn't solve the game, but it gives you back one quiet, dangerous ability. The ability to distinguish between who you are and how you're being measured. And the question becomes, how long can you hold on to that distinction in a world that has no intention of stopping? If what you're hearing here feels familiar, it's probably not by accident. This series was built to sit with that kind of thought, not to solve it quickly and not to push you into action. If you want to continue at your own pace, there's one place where all the episodes connect, along the same line of thinking. Not more content, the same conversation, just one chapter at a time. No obligation, not now. Just know that the continuation is there when it feels like the right moment. Maybe the most exhausting part of all this is feeling like you're slowly disappearing while doing everything right. If something here touched you, it's not because it's new, it's because it's already happening and no one ever stopped to name it. Because this feeling that you're doing everything right and still tightening a little inside didn't appear by accident. It was learned, slowly, quietly. And to understand how you get back that small freedom, the freedom to start without thinking about how it will be counted, you first have to see where you gave it up. And in the next part of this series, we're not asking how to be more successful, we're asking something deeper. How your choices started to feel less like yours, and when that happened.
If you made it this far, it means this topic matters to you. In the next video, we continue building on this with clearer understanding, practical perspective, and ideas you can actually use. Following the channel really helps us keep developing content like this and adding more resources over time. The next video continues from here. You can watch it now.